What's up guys, we're here with the all-new 2024 4th Gen Toyota Tacoma sitting on an all-new Icon vehicle dynamic suspension system right behind us. And we've been getting a lot of questions as to what size tire am I gonna be able to fit? Can I fit 35s? Can I fit 37s? And the answer is, not really. And we're gonna talk about why. So this guy's sitting on 25mm offset rebound SLX 17-inch wheels on 285/70 R17 tires, which is gonna be the, honestly, ideal tire fitment for this new truck. And let's talk about why. We're back in the shop now. We got the Tacoma up on the lift. We've removed the coilover so we can cycle the suspension fully. And what we're seeing here is the suspension at full compression. And what we're looking at is the fitment of the tire and the wheel within the wheel well. And we've got a few different options of different offsets and tire sizes to try to show what we mean by 35s, different offsets aren't really ideal. So again, this is our Icon Alloys Rebound SLX and a 25mm offset, 17-inch wheel with a 285/70 R17 tire. Slightly smaller than the official recommendation of 33 by 11.5. But you can see that at full compression, we're pretty much using all of the wheel well. A full 33 would actually tuck up nicely up inside of the fender here. Toyota's nice enough to give us a little factory notch up here to help clear that tire at full compression. But the key is tire clearance when turning. And so you can see with this 25mm offset, we're really tight up against the front bumper here. Even with just a 285. If we were to run a 33, it's going to get a little tighter, or a 35 is pretty much a no-go without cutting up this part of the truck, and that's with a 25mm offset. If we were to run a 0mm offset, we're just going to push it out further. Not only where you're going to have significant amount of tire hanging outside the wheel well, you're going to throw mud and everything down the side of the truck. It's going to get all up in here when you turn. And so a lot of stuff can be solved by trimming, but there's a lot of safety features that Toyota has incorporated into the chassis on this truck, specifically some front and rear crash bars. And you can see them on the backside here, and technically that is removable. However, Toyota put that there for a reason. And so we don't necessarily recommend removing that. If you do, that's all on you. And do so at your own risk sort of scenario. But as far as the safety of the vehicle and the crash test ratings and all that stuff, I'm sure that is part of the equation. So overall, the 25mm offset with a 33-inch tire clears that nicely so that can stay put and have all of the factory safety features that the truck was built with still intact. You can really see how this guy tucks into place in full steering travel with actually zero rub on this 285 tire. And we'll swap this guy out and try a couple different offsets, and we'll actually go up to a 35 and see how that goes. All right, so now we have a 35-inch by 1250 Canadi tire mounted on a 0mm offset wheel. And so we dropped the full bump position just a scotch to keep it out of the top of the fender. You see we have just the sliver of room, but this is a 0mm offset wheel, so it's pushed that tire out quite a bit further, 25mm to be exact, from the last wheel we had on here. You can see how much more we have hanging outside of the fender. And by the time we factor in a dynamic scenario, when in the real world, you have body mount deflection, you have bushing deflection, you have all this stuff, it's never gonna be this perfect. You're almost guaranteed to get this tire into the top of the fender at full compression. Now, we are going to offer bump stop spacers to properly limit the travel if you would like to run a 35 to keep that from happening. The problem is now you can't turn. With just a few degrees of steering, and we're very much into the front bumper. So you're either gonna have to trim all this off, get some sort of aftermarket front bumper to even make this happen. And it's the same scenario in the rear. You get a little bit further turning angle that way, but it's very much going to rub a lot. So the 0mm offset, while that's been the go-to for Toyotas for 20 years or more, the 25mm offset is really going to be a much better option. Even if you do choose to run a 35-inch tire and are okay with some trimming to make all that fit. So now we have a 17-inch compression wheel with a 25mm offset again, mounted on another Canadi 35 by 12.5. And so that 25mm offset, again, is honestly better. You can see how we have It's tucked in a little bit more. It's actually going to just clear the inside of the fender, and again, in that dynamic sort of full bump situation where you've got body mount deflection, bushing deflection, that sort of thing, where everything's gonna kind of compress and get closer to the tire. So it tucks it back in, much better inside the wheel well, but we're still in a very similar scenario with a 35-inch tire as far as your overall turning clearance goes, and you're gonna have to trim this quite aggressively to keep it from rubbing. Same thing on the rear. Again, better, but it's already rubbing on that body mount and that crash bar back there. So it's possible to make this happen, and it's definitely doable to, say, cruising around town, but in a performance setting off-road, when you're really getting through the suspension travel, you're gonna have all different steering angles when that's happening. It's pretty much going to rub. So you have to kind of pick your poison on how you want to set the truck up to make these 35-inch tires somewhat fit. All right, and lastly, we have a 35 by 11.5 Nitto trail grappler here. Again, on a 25 millimeter offset. This time it's our Recon SLX. The same offset as most of the others we've looked at before. And honestly, the 35 by 11.5 is not that common of a tire size, but I'm a really big fan of it for a lot of these sort of applications where you're looking for that diameter, but the width kind of works against you. So in this case, again, we're back up at full compression. It actually tucks up inside the fender well quite nicely. That little groove that Toyota gave us here works to our advantage. We get a decent amount of turning clearance at the back of the fender here. This is a more aggressive tread pattern than some of the other wheels we've had, so the diameter probably varies a little bit, so it's kind of tied up against that body mount and the crash bar, but she spins freely with no rub at full compression, which isn't terrible. But again, up front, we're back in the same scenario. Pretty much immediately with almost no steering angle, we're up in the fender again. Overall, a 35-inch tire can be made to fit. However, you're gonna have to really work to make that happen. And the ideal offset is gonna make that as easy as possible for you, where you can really only get away with doing trimming or a front bumper, something up front to make some more room, and you can leave a lot of that other safety stuff from Toyota in place. So 25 millimeter offset is really the way to go. All right, so as we can see, 35 is possible. It's not going to be without a little bit of effort required to make it clear up front. But honestly, there's some components that are installed on here that we haven't talked about that are helping this rear wheel well clearance, and that would be the Icon billet upper control arm. With the adjustability that provides, combined with the factory adjustment off the lower arm for your caster adjustment, this has allowed us to move the tire a lot further forward to keep it out of that rear fender well area. So if you're willing to do a little bit of trimming, maybe do some sort of aftermarket front bumper to open up this space, 35 could work, but it's all gonna come down to that upper control arm and the right offset, and 25 millimeter is gonna be the answer. So to stay tuned on all the new stuff that we've got rolling out here, for more videos just like this, going over the nuances of the truck, head on over to iconvehicledynamics.com/Tacoma and check it out. We'll see y'all next time.